This video is an overview of the reactions of photosynthesis. So we're going to go from very basic to more complex. So in general, photosynthesis requires light energy, carbon dioxide from the environment, water from the soil, and what is produced are carbohydrates in the form of glucose and oxygen as a waste product. Okay, so what we say are the reactants are carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight energy, and the products are glucose and oxygen. And it requires 6 carbon dioxides and 6 waters because our product is C6H12O6. And in order to get that C6, which is what glucose is, we need 6 carbon dioxides because each carbon dioxide only has 1 carbon. So that's a balanced chemical equation. Photosynthesis occurs in the palisade mesophyll cells. So it's in this area right here, okay, of the leaf. And it actually occurs in the chloroplast of those palisade mesophyll cells. Okay, and there are 2 different parts of photosynthesis, and they both occur in different parts. There are the light-dependent reactions, which occur in the thylakoid membranes, those pancakes, and the light-independent reactions, which occur in the stroma, which is like the soup of the chloroplast. So we've got this very simplified view. I just wanted this to be as simple as possible. So I have our thylakoid here and our stroma out here. Okay. So the light-dependent reactions occur in our thylakoid, and the light-independent reactions occur in the stroma. Okay, so the goal of the light-dependent reactions is to get energy and electrons to power the production of glucose in the light-independent reactions. And the light-dependent reactions occur in the thylakoid. Okay, first thing that happens is water enters. And it comes in from the environment. It contains H+, which are protons, electrons, and oxygen. Light energy hits the water, and along with chlorophyll, the molecule, the pigment that's found in the chloroplast, it splits that water into hydrogens, electrons, and oxygens. Okay, we don't need that oxygen, so it leaves as waste at this point, which is great for us humans because we need oxygen to breathe. Okay, so the electron carrier NADP+, arrives. NADP+ picks up the electron. Okay, so it's like an empty taxi. It picks up its passenger, the electron. Now NADP+, because it picked up that electron, is now called NADPH. So it leaves the thylakoid and enters the stroma. Okay, so we've got our electron now. Now we need our ATP. Now we need our energy, and that's where the hydrogen's going to come in. Hydrogen is used to power the production of ATP from ADP and inorganic phosphate. This is done through the use of a hydrogen concentration gradient and the use of ATP synthase. We're not going to go through all those steps, but you can consider ADP like a dead battery and ATP like a charged battery. Okay, so the hydrogen is able to attach that last phosphate, and now our ADP is now ATP, and it is now energy. Okay, so now that ATP can enter the stroma as well and go into the Calvin cycle. which is also known as the light-independent reactions. So the goal is to produce glucose through the use of electrons and ATP, and this occurs in the stroma. Okay, so carbon dioxide enters the cell from the environment. Okay, and the Calvin cycle is a series of very complex steps that we're just not going to get into in this class, requiring the electrons from NADPH and the energy from ATP. Okay, so during this process, the electrons are stripped from the NADPH, turning it back to NADP+. ATP's energy is taken by breaking the bond to the last P, making it now ADP and P, which is like a dead battery. Okay, so we have an empty taxi again, and we have a dead battery again. Okay, so in the end, we've got our glucose, we've got our NADP+, and we've got our ADPP. So glucose can leave the chloroplast and go to any other part of the plant where it's needed to be used for energy. Meanwhile, the NADP+ and the ADP and P can go back to the thylakoid to be recharged, and this whole process is a cycle. So here is the big picture. We have light energy entering our thylakoid. We have water entering our thylakoid. The light energy and the chlorophyll are able to split that water molecule into H pluses, electrons, and oxygens. The oxygen leaves right away, it's a waste product. Those electrons are put into the empty taxi NADP+ and sent over to the stroma to the Calvin cycle. Okay? Those H pluses that are made are used to produce ATP from ADP and P by producing a hydrogen gradient and turning an ATP synthase. So we send over ATP and NADPH. So we're sending over energy and electrons to our Calvin cycle, which occurs out in the stroma. So during the Calvin cycle, carbon dioxide is what's called fixed, and it is turned into glucose using the electrons from NADPH and the energy from ATP. So at the end of the Calvin cycle, which has to run 6 times per carbon molecule, for carbon dioxide molecule, because each carbon dioxide only has 1 carbon. Okay. At the end of each cycle, we end up with an empty taxi again, an NADP+, and an uncharged battery, a dead battery, an ADPP. So those can go back to the light reactions to be recharged and pick up new electrons. So that's why this is a very elegant cycle that is self-sustaining as long as we have access to water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. Okay, those electron carriers and energy are able to cycle through.